Missy WOLE-OJOMO, a HR professional and certified coach. Welcome to All Things HR, a place where we provide expert perspectives on all HR matters in the workplace, as well as strategies on how to navigate them. I'm particularly excited today because it's our very first show on All Things HR. And I know and I believe it's going to be a beneficial one to HR professionals, business leaders, and business owners. Today we'll be looking at a very interesting and recent development in the workplace. Some call it silent resignation, quiet quitting, and I also say it's an extension of the Great Resignation. And we'll be looking at it from an expert perspective today. Joining me is a seasoned HR professional, Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton. Taiwo Dayo Abaton is currently the Group Head Human Capital and Corporate Services at Primera Africa Finance Group, where she leads the team in strategic planning, organizational leadership, change management, process automation, and provides thought partnership in driving the human capital agenda of the group. With almost 25 years of work experience and over 18 years in human resource management, her career spanned different sectors of the Nigerian economy. Taiwo is an alumnus of the London Academy Business School, as well as the Olushola Lanre Coaching Academy. She's a member of several professional bodies and sits on the faculty and advisory board of several organizations. She's also a recipient of several awards, including 2021 Top 100 Career Women in Nigeria. So welcome to All Things HR, Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invite.
Yeah. All right, so quiet quitting or silent resignation, some people believe it's just a buzz, that it will pass away. Meanwhile, for some people, we say it's a reality. Is it really a buzz or a reality?
I would say it's a reality, and I would say it's not going anywhere soon. Quiet quitting has always existed. I guess the hype around it became more apparent with social media and more with, we have the multi-generation workforce. So more with the current workforce generation that we have, the millennials and the Gen Zs. So they brought it more. So it's been there all the while. So I wouldn't say it's not a myth. Neither is it a buzz. It's a reality we have to face.
Fantastic. And it's the onus is on business leaders and HR professionals.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. It's a challenge that we need to overcome at this time.
So what really led to this point? What led us to this point where it has become, there's a lot of awareness around it?
Okay, so I would say, I think the pandemic also took its toll. People getting to that point whereby they became more self-aware. People stopped living false lives. When during the pandemic, we were all at home. And what was our staying power, which was our 9 to 5, was taken away from us. So people got to discover themselves better. So I would say the pandemic. More importantly, the socio-economic factors also has brought quiet quitting to the fore. People have other things they're dealing with. They have to pay the rent, the school fees for the children. And so that also projected quiet quitting a bit. Also, the pressure on companies to break even, which is putting a lot of pressure on business owners and managers, has also triggered this, I'll call it a misnomer, called quiet quitting. I call it a misnomer because it's in the middle of somebody being actively engaged and actively disengaged. So quiet quitting is in between.
That's you give us some context behind what it is. For those that are just hearing about it for the first time and saying, so what is this?
Yeah. So quiet quitting basically is when you experience some form of disengagement with employees in an organization. Now, it's not really too obvious, like I said, because it's in the middle of somebody being actively engaged, somebody being actively disengaged. So the employee is in the office, but it's more around presenteeism, more around optimum work, So it's the person is still performing, but not at the extent to which it will benefit the business.
Or for some, they're just present there.
They're just present there.
Not
They'll just come in and say, I'll just do enough.
Yeah,
And that's it.
Yeah. Okay, for some, with the increased great resignation, great attrition, it has come in so many names. Could that also be a factor that is affecting those that are left behind?
Yes. Before we started the show, we were talking about FOMO, fear of missing out. Yes. So a lot of people are also under that pressure to say, what's happening to me? What's next? My friend is gone. My colleague at the office is gone. Yes, the great migration and great resignation also has triggered a bit of quiet quitting. People are thinking, so there are other options. Nobody thought about people moving out 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
So yeah, that has also triggered this phenomenon we're calling quiet quitting.
Yeah. So for business leaders or HR professionals, what signs should they be? Is it possible for them to even see it in a colleague to say this person is quietly quitting?
Oh, definitely.
So what signs would they notice?
So yes, early this year, I started putting some things on the table for my management to say, people are coming to work, but I'm sensing quiet quitting. One of the things you will find out is that a typical employee who is undergoing quiet quitting would withdraw from social interactions in the office. So you're saying, we're having, thank God it's Friday, they'll give an excuse, I'm not going to come. Team building sessions, so they withdraw. Another thing you will observe about quiet quitters is that for performance appraisal, they won't strive to be exceptional achievers. They're fine.
People who have even been performers
before. They would rather be a full achiever and just stay there. So that's ambition. So a typical employee should be ambitious. Ambitious wants to rise the ranks. You won't see that there. So even if you are a manager, you're not careful, you have to start saying, so tell what's happened to you? I'm fine. Why don't you do this? No, I'm just fine. When you want to transfer them to higher responsibilities, they will tell you, I'm okay where I am. So that's two. The third thing you would observe with quiet quitters is that I've talked about social interactions and I've talked about the performance, right?
Yeah.
Is that they are subtle aggressors. So typically, we are all supposed to go to the office, abide by the policies of the company. They will subtly begin to challenge in a nice way. They apply for leave. You're saying, can you go on your leave next week? You say, no, I want to go on my leave now.
Today.
So you see subtle aggression coming from such people. So I would say maybe those three things would make you know somebody who is a quiet quitter.
So for business leaders, we're saying sensitivity is important.
We have to become more deliberate and intentional in connecting with our employees. If not, they're gone.
Now, great. At the beginning of this conversation, we said it became more prominent because of the Gen Zers.
Yeah.
Is it peculiar to Gen Zers only, or it's across board?
I want to break a myth here. For the Gen Zs, so we're all on Instagram. We're just talking about Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
That generation, they want instant recognition and instant reward. So I take a picture and I put on Instagram. What's the essence? I want somebody to say, like. And I go there every 30 minutes to say, okay, 300 likes, 400 likes. So that is that generation. That is what they want. And if we don't begin to do that in the place of work, they'll quietly quit. So it's peculiar with that generation, because if I talk about the silent the generation, that's the veterans, or I talk about the baby boomers, we are more reward oriented. We are more service and sacrificial oriented.
True.
But they want instant reward and gratification. So
they're the ones speaking out about it
and quietly quitting.
Just like you said, it has always been there, but people never just spoke about it. But Gen Zers speak about it, and they actually brought it to the fore.
Yeah, to the fore.
It's an issue that has always been there.
Yes.
That probably you and I have even done in the past.
But we got around it.
We never said
we
it.
got around it, but we didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, now one interesting thing which you have also pointed out is the generations in the workforce. They are multi-generational, and we have quite a number of younger HR professionals who are leading HR. How do you think they can go about managing multi-generational workforce?
Okay, yeah. So it's something that we have to be very intentional about, particularly for the young HR professionals who, based on skill and competence, have now risen to that rank and sitting in that space. So typically we have 5 generations. We have the silent generation. They're already out of retirement now. Then we have more around the baby boomers. That's the 1945 to 1964. Then we have the Gen X. I'm a Gen X. The 1965 to 1980. And then we have the Gen Zs. The Gen Ys, the millennials, and then the Gen Zs. Okay, so how would I basically perform actively so that I'm able to engage across? One, companies need to begin to look at their value propositions. That's the employee value propositions. And HR needs to be very, very creative. I'll give an example. You're putting on a table that one of my offer is that I get a health cover. Excellent. But this guy, who is already a Gen Z, just 21 years, was telling you, I don't need your health cover. True. Because my father's health cover currently covers me.
True.
So as HR, we should start thinking, I need to give that guy his money back.
Yeah.
Another one says, okay, you're coming as a manager, you've did exceptional, and so you have an official car. I said, my father bought a car for me when I graduated. I don't need your official car. So we need to begin to curate our value propositions in such a way that it cuts across. The typical baby boomer or a Gen X would want societal standards and status, club membership. If you're traveling on a business class. Meanwhile, the other one is talking to you, I want data for life. I want data for life. I want to have an opportunity to flex once a month. Thank God it's Friday. I want us to have team building sessions and stuff like that. Just a few weeks ago, we had our...
I want to dress down.
I'm going there. Our Thank God it's Friday event. So every initiative I put on the table, we run a survey after. And I got the feedback that the party should have run till 10 p.m. And I was like, I served you alcohol after work. We had small chops. There was a DJ said, we want our TGIF to now run till 10 p.m. So I'm thinking now that the next one I'm going to have, I have to have security. Because we need to speak to that generation.
Yes.
You call for another one, they won't come.
They won't come.
In one of my lives, I was looking at the attrition rates, and I found out that the bulk of our attrition rate was from the Gen Zs and the millennials. And we went ahead and said, okay, let them go. They are readily available talents. I said, let's begin to find out why they are leaving. And the result of the survey said we were too uptight. Monday to Friday, we were always in suit and tie. It was a financial services institution. And I said, I had to go back to the board and say, can you give me one Friday a month? Just once. Allow them to just dress anyhow. So we had guidelines. The first week, that first month we did it, productivity spiked. Took a survey. Line managers said they could feel the zeal and the energy. And so we introduced that. Guess what? Attrition dropped. So being creative around the value proposition, one. The other thing is that let's also encourage transfer of knowledge. The older ones want you to rub their ego because they are the veterans in that space. We call them subject matter experts. Allow them to be able to mentor and coach the other ones. So HR should maybe have a coaching and mentoring framework implemented within the organization, transfer of knowledge. The third one is that we need to ensure proper employee engagement strategies, and that's what the managers have to do. Get them involved in decision making. So organizations now are project-based, so you have what we call the agile culture. So projects are going on, you're putting everybody in one project team or the other, and people will buy into what they are involved in.
Very true. Very true.
So I think I've put some things on the table to make a typical HR begin to be able to find how do I manage across these generations.
So your strategies should not be one size fits all.
No.
Be strategic with initiatives for each of your group
within
the organization.
Exactly. So for me, I had to introduce music into trainings.
Wow.
And I take contemporary music. So there was one I took around Olamide's song that he talked about science students. And so I played that music during an interlude during a training session. And some people were uptight. And then the other ones, the Gen Zs were jumping and everything. After the music, who got something there? And they were like, hey, what are you talking about? I said, did you listen to the lyrics of that music? What he was saying was that parents were looking at as the drugs. And our children are taking they're taking other silent drugs. And they were like, oh, yes. So I had to try to break the myth and the biases
take
with
your
that older
mind
generation. Just say, listen to the lyrics of this music. It's not poisonous.
and take your mind off
Of the negativity. Yeah. And so a lot
the
of
normal things you've always looked at. Be sensitive to see the things that you're not looking at.
Yeah.
Be sensitive to see the things that
HR
you're
has to do a lot in that regard.
Yes. And with employer branding, because I know for the younger generation it's a lot
Something very
important.
And I'm going there.
Yeah.
So now the Gen Zs and I say a bit of the millennials, they are people who discover purpose very early and would rather work with an organization that has a greater purpose beyond income, beyond profits. So I've seen people ask me at interviews, what do you do for your CSR in this organization? So they want to work with you if you have a greater purpose. So I've also been involved in companies saying, let's review our corporate social responsibility policy because it has a way it enhances your brand. So the Gen Z or a typical millennial will go on Google and find out what does this company do and also your brand visibility. There are several platforms. So the way you are checking them out before you bring them on board, they're also checking out they're going to Glassdoor, they're going to Nairaland, they're going to Google to go and hear customer reviews about you and your products. And so companies also need to be very, very particular about brand visibility. Now, when it comes to HR, they will say it's not our business. Oh, it's very much our business. I'll give you an example. I went for an interview, and my employer shouldn't hear this. And the first thing I went was on their website, and I saw C2000. What that meant was that website was last updated in 2000. And so which gave me a mindset around the kind of management that company had. So HR needs to be very, very, your collateral materials, your marketing materials, your branding, your adverts, HR plays a role there because these things speak to this generation and would either attract or move them away from your brand.
Now, a HR manager I was speaking with recently said that her supervisor or the CEO of the organization always says, I don't want these social media people. I don't want this social media MD. That's what I don't want this social media MD. That's what the man usually says. Now, as a HR professional, what would be your advice to that HR professional to manage visibility for the organization when the leaders are a bit anti?
Yeah. So for me, I would say not really visibility. Yes, HR can still push visibility, but in terms of value back to the organization. So if I'm in that state, I'll be organizing KSS, non-sharing sessions. Look at things that are germane within our industry and push thought leadership. So get seminars, get sessions. It will get a subject matter expert, somebody who is very grounded in that industry, bring them on board, have a flyer. It could be via Zoom, it could be via Microsoft Teams, it could be Webinar Ninja, anything. And then showcase the brand. So when the management can see the connectedness or the gain to their brand via what HR is doing, they will latch onto it. I want to say absolutely 90% of our people or your target market, they're on social media.
Very true.
So you can't jettison it.
Yes,
you can't jettison it.
And I would also thinking now, I mean, while you were talking, that thought came to me. Even as HR professionals, you can look for opportunities for your anti-social media leaders to be thought leaders as well. Push them out. Look for speaking engagement for them. Look for opportunities to project them.
So in one of my lives, we were actually looking at things like 1st of October, Children's Day, World Health Day, all those little. So we had the WHO calendar and other peculiar special dates. And then you push your brand, push your leaders and things like that.
Yeah, fantastic.
It could help.
All right. So for business leaders now, and in conjunction with HR, how can we create a suitable culture? You've mentioned some. Drive the culture in the organization to ensure it supports, you have the right culture and that it supports your people end to end.
So I would say, just for benefit of the audience, to define a bit of culture and how I perceive culture to be. Culture, I would say, is what leaders allow. Simple, what you allow. If you allow toxicity in your environment, that's your culture. If you allow tardiness, lateness, that is your culture. So where am I going to? Leadership has to be at the forefront of driving the right culture within the organization. And the best way to do it is to walk the talk, transparency. Transparency and openness first would help leadership to drive the right culture. The second one is also an opportunity for people to be able to air their views. So you find that there's actually a disconnect, and employees will even say that the more you look, the less you see. Meanwhile, the more you look, the more you can see. So leadership has to drive that connectedness in terms of communication within the business. And how do you do that? HR will do that by ensuring that we have the town hall meetings where the leadership comes to give account of the business, maybe not in total, but how the business is faring, because it will help them to manage their employees' expectations. Employees are expecting a raise, but business is only faring 50% against budget. Let MD come and tell us to manage their expectation. The third one also is that you drive a performance-driven environment. Performance management is one of the best ways to have the right culture. Set the KPIs, set the deliverables, set the criteria for assessment, and ensure that you implement the reward. Reward could be positive or negative. Most times companies will reward positively and will shy away from the negative.
Or some even push the negative and leave the positive.
So reward is actually also a very good way to drive the right culture. So I said the transparent leadership, communication, and then reward.
Okay, finally, so that because if we can spend the whole day talking about quiet quitting.
I'm excited talking about.
Yes. All right. So finally, what strategies can employees on their own? Now, people who notice that they are slipping into that silent resignation mode, what can they do to help themselves improve productivity and come out from that mode?
So I'll say one thing: be in the right community, have the right network of positive-minded people you can bounce things on. The second one I would say is get a mentor. You cannot do it alone. And most times, we always feel that we can handle things ourselves, but they get so bad that it becomes worse. If you have a mentor, when you're going through those things, your mentor will tell you, I've gone through it before, and this was how I was able to navigate. The third thing is that I would say that employees, we've gone beyond that time where people just take jobs. People are going to employments now to do what they love to do. So you have to really ask yourself to say, is this what I love doing? And be able to tell yourself the truth. If it's not what you love doing, leave. Don't quietly quit just because you want to earn a salary. So understand your purpose, get a mentor, and be in the right community. I think will help.
Fantastic. And on that note, we'd like to say a huge thank you to you, Mrs. Taiwo Dayo Abaton. I strongly believe it has been an engaging and an enlightening session for HR professionals and business leaders as a whole. Is there any last word you want to drop?
I want to say, particularly to my colleagues as HR professionals, there could never have been a time that employers need us most. Companies have issues, employees have issues. We need to step up our game and be ready to deliver the right service to the business at this time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
To our viewers and the professionals out there, I would like to say quiet quitting or silent resignation is dangerous to your career. It sends out the wrong impression about your image and about your personal brand, which matters to your career growth. So if there are any external factors such as burnout or challenges with work-life integration that are negatively impacting you at this time in your career, take time out or speak to someone. Deal with these issues so that they do not impact on the impressions people have about you in the workplace. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I want to hear from you. Are there challenges or issues that are leading to you silently resigning from your employment? Let me hear from you. And don't forget to like and to share this video. And also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you're notified every time we upload new videos. See you in the next one.